you guys can see this blanket that's showing on the side. That's a photo of my parents, and that's like a blanket on the side that used to belong to my grandmother. Love it to bits. I love that blanket. This is like my little reading nook situation that you can't quite see there, because I want to like upholster the actual seat situation, but that was a rocking chair gift from a friend of mine in East London, which I really love. That's why I sit and I read, and I do most of my reading actually. Like, it's like a magic section. Yeah, it's a really magic section, and I really love it. I love it. And here in the background are some of the books that I've read this year. Okay, so like I was saying, these are some of the books that I have read this year, which are, and some of them, sorry, which is not all the books I've read, some of them are on ebook format, so that's that. In this video I haven't even introduced myself. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Vuvu, and this is Vuvu Vena Reads. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do press the red button below. And if you're interested in like a quick review of Ngozi Chimamanda Adichie's first novel called Purple Hibiscus, please do stay tuned. So guys, this book, I finished reading it and I sat there and I was like, I'm gonna review it. I opened my laptop, I started writing, couldn't get past like the first line, and I was like, let me digest this book before I try and tell it to somebody else. So now like about a week or so has passed since I last read it, and I've read something else afterwards. Ask me why I do that to myself, because I feel like as soon as I engage with something else, like my mind kind of like, ooh, forgets all about the book that you are meant to review. But I am gonna try and remember as much as I can what it is that I loved about this book. I suggested this book for our second book for my book club, which started, not my book club, our book club, which we started in October. So I didn't read the first book, but it was a non-fiction book by a South African author. I forget the name. So I didn't read that first book because I was in the middle of stuff and I couldn't actually get around to reading it by the time we were meeting to review it. But I did go to the review. I heard about the book. It sounded interesting, but knowing me, I'm not so much of a non-fiction person. I love my fiction. So I was partly glad I didn't read it, but I know that going into 2019 I won't be able to escape any of that, and I've told myself I will enjoy the challenge of non-fiction. So the second suggestion was from me, and it was Purple Hibiscus, because I had wanted to read it for a very long time and hadn't gotten around to reading it. Can you guys hear that thunder? And I hadn't gotten around to reading it, and I suggested it and everybody was keen on it, and we read it. And as part of the review process, we plan to go to a Nigerian restaurant around Joburg and talk about the book. So here are my thoughts about this book. The book follows a young girl by the name of, I want to get her name so badly, I don't want to look for it, but I'm gonna have to do that because I don't know what's going on outside. Yes, a 15-year-old Kambili. I think I'm saying her name right. It's Kambili. She is the daughter of a rich businessman in Nigeria. So her dad is Catholic and wealthy and owns a few businesses around Nigeria. Did you guys hear that? So she's basically growing up in an abusive household. Her dad is a staunch Catholic Christian man in Nigeria, in what looks like it is not particularly modern day night. I'm worried about the weather. So we follow the book through her eyes. She's 15 years old, she's a teenager. She's got a teenage brother that's older than her, whose name escapes my mind. That guy's name. Oh, Jaja. Jaja, her brother's name is Jaja, and her and Jaja live in the house, a huge house with the staunch Catholic father, very strict, and their mother, who has been living under this man's abuse from the onset. So when the book starts, it starts with what seems to be Jaja's rebellion against his father, which is immediately something that is very sore for us to read, because we can understand that it is happening in an atmosphere that it shouldn't be happening at. The father is the authority of that house. He is the head of that house, and he has instilled fear upon his kids, so much so that as you read this piece, as it starts, you realize that something is absolutely wrong with Jaja's reaction. And then this book is broken up into 3 parts. So then we follow the journey that led Jaja to this point, but we follow it through Kambili's eyes. And as we're reading through this, we see how unhealthy this household has been, and it's been based on a very Christian foundation, but a lot of misconception about religion and about status, and misconceptions about religion, about status, about right and wrong, and various forms of abuse. But the most blatant, obviously, is the physical abuse laid upon the mother by the father in the presence of the children. And what then transpires is a story of how the vindication begins, and how when he loosens his grip on these children, a different world is opened up to them, and how they start to think for themselves. And guys, am I pushing it? And start to question if life should be as it has been all their lives. And it's a beautiful tale, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know how Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie managed to tackle race, religion, and class all in the same first novel, which are all, I feel like, very difficult topics to try and talk to. But she talks about how, well, she talks to how each of them fits into one another, and that was a fascinating read for me. I really found it to be quite interesting, even though I did feel like, because I had read Half of a Yellow Sun, I did feel like I'm reading an amateur Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie in Purple Hibiscus, and I almost feel like I should have read Half of a Yellow Sun last. So I've read Americana and I've read Purple Hibiscus, but my best book of the 3 is still Half of a Yellow Sun, and I feel like if I had read Purple Hibiscus before Half of a Yellow Sun, I would have done myself some justice, because now I'm looking at this book through the lens of the author that I discovered in Half of a Yellow Sun, if that makes sense. That being said, though, it doesn't take away from the content and the crafting of this book. As a debut novel, it definitely shocked me. It blew me away. I felt like it was well considered, well thought out, and well executed. And I love, you know, we can talk class in class and religion in books, but how she managed to juxtapose the two haves and the have-nots that came from the same family, in terms of the religious, fashionable religious ones, or whatever the case may be, against what would seem like the traditionalist and unconverted part of the family, as well as how she juxtaposed how life can play out for rich and for poor, and how, especially with kids, none of that really matters. What really matters at the end of the day is the substance of your being and how you interact with other people around you in the world. I feel like that's the biggest message from this book, that It does not matter who you believe. It does not matter who you believe in. It does not matter what you have. What matters is how you act towards people and human beings in general. That's the substance of your being. And when you hurt intentionally and hide behind various things, people, because of the hurt that you have had in life or your own misconceptions, people can only understand you to that degree, especially when there are people around you who have tried to show you the light, if I may put it that way. It's a very, very powerful book, which I feel like helps us contextualize the things we believe in and the power that we have by virtue of the things that we possess. And it is a very big topic to tackle, and she did it with grace, and she did it very well. Like I that is a message that is gonna stick with me for a very long time. I gave the book 4 out of 5, and I'm saying 4 out of 5. It could have also been like a 3 out of 5, but I really think that a whole lot of my rating for this book was based on having just finished Half of a Yellow Sun, which I have reviewed on my blog, by the way, so you can go over to www.vuvuvenareads.com. I'll put it down on the screen, and it's always on my description box. I'm rushing through this review. I'm so very sorry for that if it does seem rushed, because of what's going on outside, and I wouldn't want that to interfere with this because I haven't had shooting time in a while. Sorry. So I gave it 4 out of 5, and that is my quick summary or quick review, or of the book, this book by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I love you so very much for subscribing and watching, and until next time,